Hey, I'm Dr. P, your communication coach. You won't believe what a dentist did when I was crying when I was a little girl. I was terrified because they were taking my sister to the back and I didn't know what was going to happen to her. For some reason, I had the idea they were going to murder her instead of just cleaning her teeth because nobody explained it to me. So that's why I was crying. And the dentist didn't explain anything either. He just got annoyed with my crying, and then he did the unthinkable. He slapped me across the face. Today, you could sue somebody for that. But back then, I guess I just thought it was my fault for crying. Now that I'm a communication coach, I want to give you some advice on much better things to say or do when someone is crying. But first, I have to tell you another sad story. Tears streamed down the little ball player's face, and he sat as his shoulders shook, dejected in the dugout. He had failed to hit the ball again. His dad, coach, marched into the dugout. "There will be no crying on the ball field. Do you understand me? No crying. You are not a baby." The boy buried his face in his hands, sucking in his breath every few seconds. Suddenly, I was reminded of a communication coaching session I had with a client. I was working with a professional who knows his presentations are dry and passionless, and he wants to add that zing that'll make his audience respond. The problem is, he's numbed his feelings for so long that he can't even find them anymore. He explained that in his home growing up, there was little emotion shown or allowed, and if any geysers erupted, they were immediately shut down with, "Stop crying!" Now, he needs help to even find his feelings at all again. Another friend mentioned recently that she was told to stop crying at her dad's funeral. How can you stop tears that come from the deep? It's a bit like trying to put a lid on a geyser. Unless we can find a way to try to dry up the geyser itself, to squash the emotions so that all that is left is numb silence. But is that healthy? I don't think so. Interestingly, I've seen children in impoverished countries eventually stop crying because no one listens, no one cares, and they stop feeling altogether. Numbing our feelings only works for so long because one day we realize we're living gray without any color or depth. And the day we realize we need to find our emotions again, it's the start of a long journey down into the core of us. What is this fear we have with crying? Is it that we can't stop it, can't fix it, can't control it? It's annoying, embarrassing, a sign of weakness? Or maybe our tears and the tears of others remind us that we do feel deeply. Maybe those tears trigger just how terrified we are to dive down and explore our own grief. Maybe we're afraid that if we let our tears start, they would never stop. However, did you know that just like a geyser waters the earth and births green shoots of growth, crying when we're sad is actually good for us? Jerry Bergman, in his article, The Miracle of Tears, explains that crying when we're sad helps to remove toxins from our bodies, decreases stress, and can actually work to help elevate our mood. It really is a good cry. And Chip Dodd, in his landmark book, Voice of the Heart, believes that we can only experience true gladness when we've allowed ourselves to feel every emotion, both good and bad. It's the combination of the colors that make the rainbow. My sister passed away recently, and I so appreciated the people who had compassion and even empathy for my tears. So instead of the "stop crying" mantra we say to ourselves and hear other people say, here are 10 things you can say instead. You can cry if you want to. Crying is good. Sometimes I cry too. It's okay to cry. Sometimes you just need to cry. Your tears mean you feel deeply, and that's a good thing. Your tears are beautiful. You cry, I'll just hold you. Cry as long as you need to. And sometimes the best thing to say is nothing. Just cry with them. And as for the guy from the ball field and my old dentist, I think you need a little communication coaching from me. And believe me, I'll give you something to cry about. For more communication tips, subscribe.